Journeys Through SpaceTime by James Talisman. Chapter 2. Welcome to the Central Universe. Xenon stood on the terrace overlooking the Venusian gardens, while marveling at the beauty observed from above. While Xenon had viewed the various flower and water displays countless times before, the extraordinary panorama of beauty always provided new visual experiences. Interwoven with the vast flower and water displays were wood, metal and rock sculptures of various designs. Taken from creations across the multiverse, the various flower species provided exquisite color combinations that created a breathtaking luminosity. The water fountain displays and associated pools of liquid were mesmerizing, as dazzling multicolored water sprayed about in complex and colorful patterns, creating a meditative state when watched for any length of time. Along with the vibrant color patterns of both the flowers and the water displays, ancient esoteric symbology etched into the sculptures released powerful knowledge and powers to the observer. One could not stare at the Venusian gardens without discovering new insights and re-energizing their vital consciousness essence. As with any new venture taken, Xenon used the time at this special garden to help create new insights for the upcoming journey to the outer rim of creation. Xenon predominantly inhabited and was a member of what was considered the primary universal race. The world was located in the central or first universe. As attested by the Venusian gardens, was the embodiment of the greatest of all creations. Due to the incredible antiquity of the world, all matter on was very malleable and could take on any shape or form as desired by its primary universal residents. The primary universal race was the oldest race in the multiverse, and they had collectively created to be their homeworld. Both and its inhabitants were forever consciously connected. While every being that made up this central or primary race were indeed individual consciousnesses, they were also connected to each other through a shared subconscious mind. Due to this shared consciousness, verbal communication was not necessary between members of the first race. In fact, most communication between beings of the primary universal race involved symbols and images conveyed mind to mind. Each of these primordial beings existed beyond eternity, and were all immortal in the sense that they never died. The actual truth was that every other sentient being in the multiverse was also immortal, but could still experience physical death. Some of the main responsibilities of the primary universals were building and maintaining worlds and being the depositors of knowledge pertaining to absolute law and true reality. To this end, this central race had created a grand central complex for monitoring worlds and all relevant data pertaining to these worlds. The technologies and methods to achieve this extremely complex task were beyond comprehension. In layman terms, extremely sophisticated technologies were employed at each world for monitoring and gathering data that was constantly conveyed to the central complex on for storage and retrieval as desired. In addition to being master scientists and engineers, all members of the first race were master adepts of absolute law and the esoteric knowledge and skills associated with working within the framework of absolute law. Due to the ancient wisdom possessed by each member of the central race, these special entities had the ability to achieve what many races would consider to be magical or godly in nature. Ancient wisdom concerning absolute law was conveyed to each world's race through strategic placement of esoteric knowledge on each respective planet, and through conscious interactions between primary universals and select entities that were part of their consciousness framework. Inside the central complex, Xenon stared at the hologram of the pre-terraformed world currently catalogued as PT-017735. Located on the current outer rim of creation, PT-017735 was one of countless worlds soon to be terraformed. These pre-terraformed worlds were in optimum positions in their respective solar systems to support biological life. Sometimes the primary universals in charge of these new worlds would let evolution play its part in developing life on these planets. Depending on complex variables, other worlds would become candidates for terraforming to speed up evolution on those planets. The selection committee for terraforming had determined that PT-017735 was a viable candidate. The committee requested that Xenon lead the expedition to PT-017735. Even to the other members of the primary universals, Xenon was considered an elder. Along with numerous master disciplines in the sciences, Xenon was a master geneticist. Preferring to communicate audibly, Elder Hadison came up to Xenon and said, "We are all so glad that you have agreed to lead and become doyen for the mission to PT-017735. After a slight pause from staring at the New World's hologram, Xenon replied, "Thank you, Hadison. It has been quite a while since I've been a part of such a mission. I believe the journey will be both refreshing and revealing. The committee has selected the finest crew to assist you for this important mission," declared Hadison. "I am very appreciative of the committee's diligence in curating the right members for this expedition. I realize as chair for the selection committee you were instrumental in the selections," replied Xenon to the Elder Hadison. All primary universals were capable of teleportation to any portion of the multiverse. Due to the extreme distance and conditions surrounding the home galaxy of this new world, the committee and all responsible members for this exploration had decided that a starship would be the most prudent and useful option. The starship selected for this mission was Bioclass. Like many first-world creations, the ship possessed a consciousness of its own. Fully created with the most advanced technologies, this incredible vessel was capable of interfacing with its crew on conscious and subconscious levels. The android pre-launch crew began final preparations, equipment loading, and pre-flight inspections to ensure the craft would be ready to depart the next day. In conjunction with the Starship groundwork crew, all ship crew members had ensured the necessary equipment and knowledge bases were in place for the next day's mission departure. Even though the android crew was extremely capable and thorough, Xenon preferred to perform a final inspection and inventory of all the equipment that would be used on the mission. After checking and cataloging all equipment and instruments and inputting all necessary data into the biosuits and Starship's memory cores, Xenon headed out the exit to go home and prep the living space for the extended absence. Walking off the Bioclass starship, Xenon met one of the mission's crew members coming up into the craft. "Master Xenon, so unexpected to see you here so late," spoke Tanan. "I was just finishing up some final inspections and inventory. I hope your work here does not take too long. Due to the possible length of this mission, everyone is taking time to ensure all their affairs are in order. That is where I am going now," said Xenon. "My affairs are simple. I am very honored to serve on this mission under your guidance, Doyen. I will see you at launch," said Tanan before continuing up the gangway past Xenon and into the ship. At the bottom of the gangway, Xenon stopped for a few seconds and stared out briefly before continuing to the transport terminal. As with the nature of most manifestations, energy was always expended when primary universals used consciousness to transport their physical essence. For that reason, most primaries preferred to use technological creations whenever possible. Once at the living space, Xenon consumed some vital nutrients to keep the physical essence in prime condition for the journey, before instructing the space's AI on completion of all necessary endeavors while away on the mission. With all personal affairs in order, Xenon sat upright and cross-legged on the meditation mat to begin the journey into the multiverse. Deep into the void, multiple dots of brilliant light appeared in the utter darkness of the emptiness of this special place. Once conscious awareness on a dot of light occurred, Xenon's mind and essence would connect and be pulled to that brilliant orb of energy. With all crew members aboard, the starship's consciousness informed everyone that departure was imminent. The Bioclass starship proceeded to rise past Aum's planetary shield and into the darkness of space. Once at a safe departure location, the shipboard artificial intelligence plotted the route to PT-017735 and initiated the first of multiple jumps through the wormhole portals required to reach their destination. Due to the incredibly vast distance between the central universe and PT 017735, even an advanced starship traveling at faster than light speeds would have taken millions of years to reach this destination at the outer edge of creation. Fortunately, the starships developed by the central race were like no other, and an otherwise unlikely journey was indeed possible. Even aboard a bio-class starship, with the most sophisticated navigation and propulsion systems available anywhere within the multiverse, the journey would require a week in linear time to reach the new planet. Viewed from the main shipboard monitor, the plotted course to PT 017735 looked like a vast web of interlinking multidimensional lines and dots on the screen. Most of the route was not even part of the central universe. The starship would be traversing through multiple universes in an intricate pattern of wormhole jumps and FTL travel within each universe. While the rest of the team had opted to go into cryosleep for the long journey to the outer reaches of the multiverse, Xenon decided to take the time to meditate and tap into the infinite knowledge base that was part of universal consciousness. As Doyen, he also felt an obligation to be available for anything that might come up during the journey. Once everyone else had retired to their respective cryo chambers and initiated cryosleep, Xenon performed a quick inspection walk around the ship before retiring to the cabin reserved for the Doyen. Instructing the AI to dim the lights and initiate the dilithium flower fragrance smell, Xenon sat down on the meditation mat to start the journey to all that is and the vast wisdom contained within absolute reality. Whenever he initiated these learning wayfares, Xenon would first review the fundamentals. Once inside the void, Xenon directed his conscious awareness to locate the fundamental laws of reality. Immediately, Xenon's mind was transported to the vast inner chambers of the Kabbalah, containing countless tunnels and chambers carved within a small planetary body in the first universe. The Kabbalah was the archive for all known knowledge in the multiverse. Carved on the granite walls were innumerable ancient texts and symbols that relayed extensive amounts of information concerning absolute reality, and the extremely vast and sometimes complex knowledge found throughout known existence. Along with the stone inscriptions, the Kabbalah contained boundless physical and etheric volumes of knowledge and information. Exploring the countless chambers and tunnels, Xenon stopped the mind travel at a specific chamber. Displayed on huge slabs of smooth granite were the 7 fundamental principles of truth that made up all relative and absolute law. Xenon started the lesson by reviewing each of the principles displayed. Displayed in brilliant gold inlay were the inscriptions: 1. The principle of mind of all; 2. The principle of conformity; 3. The principle of resonance; 4. The principle of duality; 5. The principle of pattern; 6. The principle of circumstance; and 7. The principle of gender. Under each of the 7 principles were profound words that conveyed powerful truths. Settling the mind to fully embrace the truths set forth, Xenon began to read more from beneath each principle shown on the beautiful granite slabs. Due to the nature of this special place, the writings entered the mind in a way that produced deeper understandings. Under the first principle, words imparted the great truth that all physical matter and the underlying energy that forms this matter are all creations of infinite mind. Those who understood this mighty concept could use this master key to unlock the vast power and knowledge associated with the principle of mind of all. Once the wisdom of the master key principle was fully understood, Xenon moved on to the second principle. The principle of conformity was indeed an underlying principle for all of creation. Within this all-powerful truth was the notion that all planes of existence share common aspects with each other. The compelling truths "as above, so below, and as within, so without" showed that the true power to create personal and consensual reality is within everyone, just as infinite mind creates the all that is. Moving on to the third principle of resonance, Xenon was once again reminded how the entire creation from the mind of all that is was in a constant state of motion. From the highest aspects of universal spirit to the lowest forms of matter, there existed vast amounts of varying degrees of vibratory rates of motion. The higher the rate of vibration, the closer to the source of all that is. Next, Zenon once again explored the principle of duality. This enlightening principle embodied the truth that all like physical and mental phenomena have two sides. Hot and cold, light and dark, and love and hate were all examples of this universal principle. While this powerful principle could be applied to both the physical and the mental, the utilization of this valuable principle of polarity on the mental plane allowed master adepts the ability to transcend their current mental states, even sometimes change that of others when necessary. With the first four principles reviewed once more, Zenon went on to explore the last three of the 7 powerful principles. The fifth principle of pattern incorporated the truth that all physical and mental creations have a measured motion that has a tide-like ebb and flow. The pendulum-like movement embodied in this principle showed how the relationships between the different states represented by the principle of duality are in constant motion from one state to the other. Just as positive moods can become negative if not consciously looked after, fear could be turned into courage by one who consciously controlled the swing of their thoughts through the power of will. Zenon moved on to the 6th principle of circumstance. The powerful principle encapsulated the mighty truth that there was always a cause for every effect, and there was no such thing as chance. Because everything happened in keeping with absolute law, masters of the principle of cause and effect learned how to rise to higher planes of existence to overcome the laws and effects associated with lower planes of existence. Instead of being pulled along by their current environments and the wills of others, true masters learned how to escape the effects of any plane and instead became masters of the game of life by converting themselves to causes of reality. Once through the first 6 principles, Zenon went on to examine the final and 7th principle of gender. Within this truth was the concept that everything was composed of the masculine and the feminine, and this powerful truth embodies the physical, mental, and spiritual planes. On the physical plane, this axiom manifests as sex, while the principle of gender takes on other forms in the higher mental and spiritual planes. Using this powerful principle, both male and female masters throughout the ages had been able to use their conscious minds masculine to mentally intend their creative subconscious minds feminine to birth their aspirations and goals into existence. With the study of the 7 fundamental principles complete and fresh in the mind, Zenon explored the Kabbalashan further to help with the upcoming issues to be faced on the journey, and those that might be encountered in the near future. Between studies within the Kabbalashan and work aboard the Starship preparing for the terraforming operation on PT 017735, the week's travel across the multiverse went by quickly for Zenon. As the bio-class Starship neared its destination, the Starship's consciousness entered the subconscious minds of all crew members in biostasis to inform them of the approaching arrival at PT 017735. With each crew member's consent, the ship's AI began the process of waking them from their earlier induced cryosleep. After waking from the extended sleep, each crew member absorbed some vital nutrients to re-energize their physical forms in preparation for the upcoming work on PT 017735. Soon, the Starship began its descent through the still-forming atmosphere on the relatively new planetary system. The first stop would be one of many upper plateau regions located in the northern and southern hemisphere of the newly formed planet system. From the higher elevation of these plateaus, the team would deposit a specially developed genetic mixture into the streams currently running through the upper plateaus and down into the valleys below. Like multiple fingers spreading out over the plateaus, these initial streams would carry the vital life-producing elementals down across vast landscapes until they reached the planet's oceans. Along its journey to the sea, this specially developed mixture of genetic material would combine with the planet's water system to produce even more of the extremely complex blend of genetic substance. Once the water from the upper plateaus reached the oceans, natural and bioengineered cloud and wind formations would pull some of the ocean's water up into the upper atmosphere to be transported and redeposited as rain throughout the planet's land masses. Mixing with the natural soils of the newly formed planet, this extraordinary combination of extremely advanced bioengineered medium would cause an accelerated growth of various plant and tree life across the globe. Due to the nature of this radically engineered substance, full terraforming of the planet could be accomplished in as little as 6 months. After depositing the initial genetic mixtures into the streams, the team would wait a few weeks before using sophisticated equipment to begin the process of creating the weather patterns needed to pull the newly formed substance out of the oceans and into the upper atmosphere for spreading across the planet's continents. With possible weather extremes and the not fully formed atmosphere on PT 017735, all team members on this mission would wear a biosuit for protection. Thus began the first part of the mission, with multiple stops to embed the genetic mixture into multiple streams across multiple plateaus. After 3 days on this task, Xenon was pleased with the progress. A couple more days and all the initial stream germinating should be complete, thought the Doyen as he rested in his quarters. Xenon detected a presence at the door. "Please come in, Tanan." Walking into Xenon's cabin, Tanan said, "Good evening, Doyen. I hope I am not disturbing you." "Not at all. What is on your mind?" "Master Xenon, I have been going over the shipboard maps of the planet. I believe it might be prudent to take a quick shuttle flight through tomorrow's planned distribution areas, to ensure we do not miss any vital tributaries." After taking a few seconds to ponder Tanyon's request, Xenon responded, "As second in command, I value your judgment. Would you like me to assign someone to go with you?" "I plan to only be gone a short while, so I don't feel assistance will be necessary." "Very well. Please update the shipboard maps on anything you find beyond the initial mission parameters." "Thank you, and I will update as necessary, Master Xenon," said Tanan before nodding to Xenon and leaving the cabin. Arriving at one of the plateaus on the planet's southern hemisphere, the crew disembarked from the vessel and headed towards the first stream slated for implantation of the genetic mixture that day. Once a water sample had been taken and examined to be a good base for the genetic medium, Xenon pulled a vial of the bioengineered terraforming substance from the mobile kit and prepared to inject the mixture into the stream. Leaning down and placing the calibrated syringe of solution into the water, Xenon began to push the material into the stream. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain as something came through the sleeve of his biosuit, and immediately entered the bloodstream of the physical body form. Falling back to the ground, he could feel the mind begin to go into total darkness. "Master Xenon. Are you all right?" cried one of the crew as Xenon lay in what appeared to be unconsciousness on the ground by the stream. The team carried Xenon back to the starship, to be connected to the ship's medical diagnostic systems, for evaluation and treatment as necessary. After reviewing the initial medical diagnostics, the shipboard AI revealed that while most of Xenon's physical body appeared to be functioning normal, the brain had entered an extremely deep coma state. Laron, the team's main physician, tried to contact him using telepathic means but was unable to cross the veil of his mind. Meeting in the ship's lounge area, the team began to discuss all options. While the ship's artificial intelligence continues to look for clues on how and why Xenon's mind is not accessible, I am concerned that further damage could occur if we do not get our Doyen back to Alm as soon as possible, exclaimed Laran. Some of the other crew members nodded in agreement. Tanan looked towards Laron and the rest of the crew. "Laron, I fully respect and value your opinion on this matter. Currently, it does appear that a majority of Xenon's physical systems are functioning normal. Based on this, I do feel that we should try to complete the initial stream germinations and set the atmospheric conditions into motion to allow a chance at starting the terraforming process on PT 017735. I am concerned for our Doyen. We really do not understand what might be happening in Xenon's mind," argued Laron. "Once again, I believe it is vital that we complete the initial parameters of this mission, before heading back. The starship's AI is connected to Xenon and will inform us all if anything new comes up. As mission commander now, I have made the decision to continue the mission for the time being, said Tanan, before directing the crew to prepare for the next stream genetic implantation. By the end of the second day since Xenon's collapse at the stream, the team hurriedly finished the remaining stream deposits. Over the following week, the team prepared the artificial weather-generating equipment to begin the process of ocean water evaporation, condensation in the atmosphere, and subsequent precipitation over the planet's land masses. The ship's AI continued to report Xenon's stable condition. With everything in place, the weather generators and natural biospheric actions began to produce the rain clouds necessary to deposit the terraforming mixture across the planet's surface. With the terraforming process now sufficiently started and Xenon's physical status still indicating stable, Tanan instructed the crew and starship to prepare for the return journey to